Set against a backdrop of golden sun and vibrant bougainvillea, the town of Los Olivos exuded beauty, fostering a sense of safety and community life that drew newcomers from afar. The cobblestone streets meandered through the center, where bustling markets and family-run cafes stood in harmony like long-lost friends. Seasoned by laughter and tradition, the people here believed in the good within humanity, often blinded by the picturesque ambience. At the edge of town, jutting against the hills, stood the Hacienda of the Valverde family. The sprawling estate was a relic of opulent colonial architecture, with its terracotta roof and large arched windows framing a garden filled with exquisite flowers. It was here that Don Miguel Valverde, a former political figure of some renown, and his wife Isabella cultivated not just a reputation but an aura of mystique. They were revered for their charitable endeavors, often seen hosting events that would fill the town square with music and dance, radiating warmth and generosity. Miguel, with his regal stature and soft-spoken charm, commanded respect effortlessly. Isabella, equally captivating with her skillful hands, crafted floral arrangements that were the envy of the town. An enchanting couple, they were perceived as the heart of Los Olivos, adopting 6 children, each a testament to their benevolence and the so-called beauty of their lives. Yet cracks in the Valverde facade began to tighten as unsettling whispers slithered through the town. The children were rarely seen, seldom playing outside like others their age, suffocated by the strict confines of their opulent but confining home. Locals couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. "It's almost as if they're birds locked in a gilded cage," explained Rosa, a kind-hearted neighbor, her brow furrowing with concern. The hallowed halls of the hacienda echoed with silence, a stark contrast to the lively thrumming outside. The children, once to be seen at the local school, became increasingly absent from community events. Their faces, shy and ghost-like, peered occasionally from behind the patterned curtains, but their eyes held a weight far beyond their years. There was talk, faint murmurs of the children's peculiar routines. Late-night rituals carried out behind closed doors frightened even the most skeptical mind. Had they been adopted only to become something else, something unknown? It was one fateful evening when a neighbor caught sight of the youngest Valverde child, a boy named Ramon, no older than 10. He stood at a locked back window, gazing into the night with an unblinking stare, lost in the shadows of the garden beyond. Stricken with an unnatural tension, she felt the atmosphere shift around them like a tightrope poised on the brink of unraveling. What could possibly be taking place inside those walls? The passing months witnessed an eeriness shrouding the town as each day tumbleweed-like whispers gathered strength. After the closest bonds had begun to fray, something sinister crept into the very fabric of the Valverde residence. Rumors morphed into secrets, and secrets begot fears. The children began to attract the attention of attentive neighbors. A group of concerned mothers grew skeptical of the Valverde family. Among them was Clara, who recently returned to town after years away. With a keen sense of observation, she couldn't shake the feeling that their kindness was an elaborate ruse. The children barely speak. When they do, their voices tremble as if saying their words were a sin, she confided in her closest friend Maria. Local teachers started to note their absence as well. Miss Callahan, the soft-spoken, nurturing third-grade teacher, volunteered to attend the Valverde home, hoping to invite the children into her classroom once more. But her visit was met with frozen glances, hurried whispers, and eventually an empty house. No one answered the door, but she swore she heard echoes of laughter hidden behind the heavy walls. One evening, however, an incident unfolded that would send tremors through Los Olivos. 8-year-old Isabel, carelessly glimpsing at the garden, lost her footing and fell into a rosebush while examining an odd symbol engraved on a stone. As townsfolk carried her away to the hospital, Clara caught a shiver in Isabel's demeanor, a fear lingering just beneath her innocence. When Clara asked what had caused that fear, Isabel shook her head vehemently and whispered, "We aren't allowed to talk about it." The town was soon awash with rumors, but that only magnified the fear surrounding the Valverde family. Clara, intent on finding the truth, reached out to Dr. Alberto, the family physician who had delivered many of the Valverde children. His brow tightened when she shared her suspicions. "They are too well thought of, Clara," he said quietly. "People refuse to believe they could harm those children." But Clara refused to acknowledge that notion, and her determination fueled a commitment to investigate further. She started documenting every detail she observed, fueled by an unsettling sense that the truth, however buried, was slinking through the shadows, begging to be uncovered. Finally, armed with a trove of observations, Clara collaborated with Dr. Alberto. Together, they pieced together a tapestry of grim inconsistencies hidden within the lives of the Valverdes, missing documents from potential adoptions, lingering traces of other children mentioned but never spoken about. A pattern began to emerge, connecting the dots that once seemed disparate. Days turned into nights as Clara followed leads that led deeper into the community's underbelly. The shadow of the family's influence cast a long corridor of fear, with many townsfolk hesitant to cooperate, yet Clara was relentless. Dr. Alberto's connections with local organizations allowed her access to archived adoption records. With each document, unsettling truths surfaced. Records of children reported missing in neighboring towns aligned strangely with the dates of the Valverdes' latest adoptions. The pair knew they were on the precipice of uncovering something vile but were cautious about alerting the authorities prematurely. They needed more evidence, and as they probed further, they noticed strange markings in the garden, a collection of stones placed methodically in a circle, an odd semblance of a ritual site. Each stone bore enough dirt to hint at having buried something precious. One night, following a lead from an anonymous tip, Clara ventured to the hacienda, drawn by the whispers of the wind. She felt her heart pounding as she navigated the garden's eerie embrace. What if they discovered the truth in the very place those children had grown up? Charged with adrenaline, Clara and Dr. Alberto crept through the hedges and up to the remnants of the site. As shadows danced under the moonlight, they began digging gently with their hands. Unfortunately, what began as the faintest scratches turned into a heart-stopping realization. The cold touch of dirt gave way to hard-packed earth beneath. They unearthed something that would change everything. Cloaked in desperation, Clara gasped as she stumbled upon a grave marker. "This can't be happening," she murmured as they continued uncovering stone after stone. Underneath each lay unmarked graves, abandoned, unrecognized, 15 in total. The chilling discovery sent shockwaves through the town, leading Clara and Dr. Alberto to full-fledged disclosure. The call to authorities was necessary, and as the investigation unraveled, the truth of a sinister double life at the hacienda came to light. The once beloved allure of the Valverdes melted into horror, their supposedly kind acts cloaked a gruesome reality that had sprawled undetected for far too long. News spread like wildfire, igniting outrage and disbelief within the fabric of Los Olivos. The trial that followed became a spectacle, capturing the attention of media far and wide. What woven tales were hidden beneath the surface? The remains of the 15 souls were unearthed, identities obscured but stories yearning to be known. As testimonies flooded in from the townspeople, a deep sorrow lingered over the proceedings. Questions about the meaning of morality, community complicity, and the shadows behind their beloved neighbors haunted collective thoughts. What had once seemed unfathomable became the heartbreaking reality. Children once loyal to their parents had been manipulated and discarded. Ultimately, Don Miguel and Isabella Valverde faced the full weight of their crimes. The legal aftermath unfurled painfully slow, revealing trickles of betrayal, negligence, and ignorance. Some townsfolk remained loyal or indifferent, clinging to remnants of the image they once shared, while others were haunted by regret, yearning for more than just ashes left behind. Yet amid the chaos, survivors became the voices of resilience, working towards reparation through community gardens, memorials, and local activism that sought justice for those lost too soon. A memorial rose on the grounds where the graves once lay, tended to by the very children and families that had once feared for their truths. As Clara stood before the garden adorned with blooming flowers, she felt their warmth bloom around her. "We will remember them," she said softly, thinking of how even the darkest truths can eventually seed into light. And so, they are remembered, a haunting reminder against the ignorance that allowed evil to flourish, bathed in nostalgia's golden glow. In the months that followed the trial, the community of Los Olivos grappled with a weight it had never known. A scar marked the town, a reminder of the Valverde family's shadows that loomed large in their collective consciousness. As anger dissipated into a cautious resolve, the survivors emerged, slowly stitching together lives fraught with trauma. Clara found herself pulled into the center of a support group, a sanctuary for those who once felt unheard. It convened in an old church that had remained a silent observer through the turmoil, its thick walls now holding whispers of recovery. Each participant carried individual burdens, shared experiences, and some held scars far deeper than skin. Among them was Isabel, the young girl who had fallen into the rosebush. Though her outward demeanor seemed fragile, Clara sensed a flicker of strength within her. During their sessions, Isabel would sit quietly, often lost in distant thoughts or gazing at the group with wide, unshed eyes. Yet when Clara introduced the idea of planting a new garden in memory of the lost children, Isabel's heart seemed to pull at her spirit. "We could create a place where they can rest, a place filled with blooms so they are never forgotten," Isabel whispered one rainy afternoon, her voice trembling yet resolute. Such simple yet profound reflections transformed into collective action, igniting a simmering resolve among the group. As they worked together, digging into the earth, sweat mingling with tears, revival blossomed. Flowers, herbs, and native plants found their homes where shadows once fell, a testament to resilience within the jail of pain they had endured. Slowly, the new garden flourished, a vibrant burst of color replacing the chilling reminders of loss. Meanwhile, Clara and Dr. Alberto remained committed to unearthing more truths about the Valverde estate. Their pursuit of justice expanded beyond mere legalities. They sought to ensure accountability for systematic failures that enabled the horror. Their research led them to community forums, advocating for child safety laws, social services overhaul, and mental health resources. In conversations with experts, Clara learned about the psychological toll of living in silence, the depths of fear that keep children shackled. There were layers of vulnerability that echoed through the history of Los Olivos, a community so eager to believe in light that they had ignored the darkness creeping about them. The cadence of their discussions intertwined with the story of the lost children, and Clara felt an urgency rushing through her, to not only heal the present but to shape a future where no child would endure a fate similar to the one lost in the shadows. Neighbors began to join their discussions, some inviting survivors into their homes, eager to listen and learn from their stories. Clara found strength in the community's newfound willingness to engage in uncomfortable conversations. A town that once shied away from the truth now yearned for it. Words once hushed unfolded into renegotiated relationships, igniting the desire for real healing. Years moved forward, and with them came seasons of growth and remembrance. The garden became a beacon for Los Olivos, nurturing not only trees and flowers but also the bonds that had been frayed, stitching the community back together. Children played among the vibrant hues, laughter marking their passage like vibrant colors on a canvas. As the children ran over the garden's golden pathways, Clara often watched them, her heart swelling with hope. A reminder that even in darkness, joy could take root and flourish. Isabel, now older and stronger, would often lead story circles, sharing tales about the lives of those lost, transforming sorrow into a legacy rooted in courage. One autumn evening, the town hosted a memorial event under the moonlight in the very garden that had blossomed from the ashes of tragedy. Paper lanterns flickered in the gentle breeze, illuminating the faces of those who gathered. Clara stood at the podium, facing her neighbors, a sense of gratitude enveloping her. "Tonight we honor not just those we lost but the resilience we found in one another," she began, her voice steady and strong. "The secrets hidden beneath the surface could have destroyed us, but together we have chosen to heal, to grow, and to speak louder than the shadows that once tried to silence our truth." As Clara spoke, Isabel handed out small flowers, each bloom being a representation of those who were now part of the tapestry of their lives, a tapestry woven with the stories of hope, love, and tenacity. The collective exhale around her felt like the dawn breaking over a long night, each person a piece among the many, bound together through their refusal to let the past define them. The evening culminated in a new tradition, ignited by Isabel's earlier dream. Each participant would plant a flower in memory of the lost souls. As they knelt in the soil, they envisioned not just the children of the past but the generations to come, children who would grow, laugh, and leave their own mark in the vibrant garden. Amid the clinking of shovels against the earth, Clara felt a swell of hope fill the air. Lives once marked by silence now blossomed in unity. Those 15 unnamed souls now had a place in a story replete with color and life, and the legacy of those lost would not just dwindle into whispers but echo against the very walls of the town itself. In time, the Hacienda of the Valverde stood abandoned, no longer a fortress of secrets but a skeletal reminder that echoes the depths of human nature. The once lush estate became a site for awareness campaigns, where local groups sought to educate children on issues of safety, trust, and the importance of speaking up. Though the blood-soaked history couldn't be rewritten, its lessons forged a path for the future. Clara became an advocate, attending workshops to educate about child protection laws, sharing her research with neighboring communities, and tilting the scales toward change. Grief transformed into action, with the name of each lost child becoming a rallying cry against complacency. Years later, a new child welfare system was framed within the community, advocating for thorough background checks on caregivers, mental health support for families, and open-door policies inviting families to engage openly. In dark corners once been ensconced in dread, new lights began to emerge. As Clara walked through the garden reflecting on the winds of change, she paused, taking in the symphony of vibrant blooms. The air felt filled with whispers of resilience, and she smiled, knowing that life thrived beyond shadows. Isabel stood beside her, hands clasped, capturing the moment. "Do you think they're happy?" Isabel asked, gazing at the flowers. Clara knelt beside her, brushing her fingers against a blooming daisy unfurling in the sun. "I think they would be proud," she whispered, her heart swelling with union. "Together, we're not just remembering their stories, we're making new ones." As the seasons changed, the garden bore witness to the ever-evolving narrative of Los Olivos. A town once clouded in shadows danced in the light of camaraderie, forged in the soil of shared experiences, a testament to the idea that healing is possible, even in the wake of the most horrific tragedies. In the end, the 12 flowers that marked the memories of the lost children intertwined seamlessly with the laughter, memories, and hope of those who dared to live. And so, Los Olivos blossomed, a living reminder that from darkness, vibrant life would always seek a way to flourish. As the garden flourished, so did the community spirit within Los Olivos. The town had transformed itself into a sanctuary for those seeking solace and connection, honoring the memories of the lost children while empowering the living ones to thrive. Neighborhood gatherings became events of laughter and joy, where tales of resilience were shared alongside the lessons of caution. Clara's workshops gained traction, rallying community members to engage in conversations about safeguarding children against potential threats. Schools incorporated these teachings into their curriculums, ensuring that both children and parents understood the importance of vigilance, communication, and emotional safety. For many, it was a groundbreaking shift in perspective, dispelling the notion that darkness could remain unchallenged. One balmy afternoon, Clara found herself sitting in a circle in the heart of the garden, surrounded by children from the community. Laughter and eager voices filled the air as the children shared stories of adventure and lessons learned, their imaginations painting vivid pictures of their worlds. It was a joyous contrast to the silence some had endured just a few years prior. "Did you know that flowers can talk?" a young girl named Lucia exclaimed, her curly hair bouncing as she spoke. "Of course, they tell us the secrets of nature," interjected another child excitedly. "They're like our friends." Clara smiled at the innocence radiating from their youthful spirits. She perceived a profound realization that the cycle of life had taken a turn, breathing new hope into those who had once walked down paths shadowed by despair. She encouraged the exploration of nature, nurturing the connection each child felt with the earth, empowering them to create their own narratives. Months transitioned effortlessly into seasons, and the memories of lost children remained woven into the fabric of life in Los Olivos. The annual memorial event evolved into a vibrant celebration, where community members gathered to honor not just the past but the remarkable resilience of their present. The mayor, recognizing the community's efforts, proclaimed an unveiling of the Valverde Memorial Garden. It would stand as both an acknowledgement of history and a beacon of hope for the future. Clara was chosen to lead the inaugural ceremony, an honor that bore weight in her heart. As the date approached, Clara felt a mix of anticipation and awe. On the day of the ceremony, she stood before a crowd. An arch of colorful flowers adorned a newly erected sign, gracefully inscribed with the names of all those once lost. The air buzzed with energy, and the sun filtered through the leaves, casting dappled light on the faces gathered to memorialize. "Today, we gather not to dwell in sorrow but to celebrate the enduring spirit of our community and the lives of those we miss dearly," Clara spoke, her voice unwavering yet filled with emotion. "We honor their memories, but we also celebrate our commitment to a brighter future for every child in Los Olivos." After her words echoed, children stepped forward, placing handmade flowers at the foot of the memorial, each crafted with care as a testimony to their resolve. It was a moment seared into the town's collective memory, a connection forged among generations, tied firmly to the spirit of care and protection. As time moved forward, Los Olivos began to draw attention from outside forces. The success of the community's healing journey attracted media, capturing stories of individual triumph amid a larger narrative of resilience. Clara received inquiries from other towns eager to learn how they could foster similar transformations. However, with growth came new challenges. Among the accolades and praise, shadows lingered. Some parents grew complacent, safety protocols began to take a backseat to nostalgia for simpler days. Clara noticed subtle tensions surfacing, discussions of accountability overshadowing cherished memories. Fueled by her instinct, Clara organized another round of workshops. She believed that the more they openly addressed discomfort, the stronger their foundation would be. During one session, Clara sensed an undercurrent of frustration in the room, ignited by a recent incident involving a neighbor's child who faced bullying by peers emboldened by choices made behind closed doors. "I thought we learned how to protect each other," a concerned mother voiced, her brow furrowed in confusion. "Why is it harder now?" Clara responded softly, "Change is difficult, but if we truly want to protect our children, we have to keep our eyes wide open, not just when it feels comfortable, but always." Through those discussions, Clara realized that vigilance was an evolving journey, requiring a community constantly prepared to adapt and learn. Every generation brought its own set of complexities, and embracing them required dialogue, education, and commitment. With a renewed sense of purpose, the workshops centered around empathy, teaching children how to navigate relationships, recognize potential dangers, and advocate for themselves and their peers. Mixed with creativity, they approached these lessons through art, music, and storytelling, allowing children's imaginations to empower their spoken truths. Meanwhile, the memorial garden flourished, unearthing not only flowers but also conversations. Parents began to engage with children in nurturing ways, those precious bonds strengthening as shared stories and experiences bloomed around them. Clara, invigorated by the community's willingness to evolve, knew they were perpetually crafting a legacy linked to their collective voyage. As the years unfolded, Los Olivos transformed into a lodestar, guiding visitors drawn to the tale of loss and resilience. The Valverde Memorial Garden sat proud at the heart of it all, its flowers a testament to the beauty that sprung from ashes. The town's commitment continued to ripple outward, asserting change and awareness beyond its borders. Clara had dedicated her life to this mission, and as she strolled through the garden on a warm afternoon, the scent of jasmine tugging at her senses, she pondered the path of healing they had forged together. Bonds formed in the wake of tragedy now resonated through harmonized laughter and shared purpose. During community gatherings, families gathered with children who engaged in storytelling, art, and games, all nurtured under the watchful gaze of the garden. The children who had once been voiceless in shadows now danced in sunlight, their laughter echoing in a celebration of life that felt electric. However, Clara's own journey was evolving. She received opportunities to share her story on broader platforms, to travel and provide insights on creating supportive communities. A growing fire ignited within her, driving the desire to reach further, beyond Los Olivos, to ensure that what transpired in their town could help others build their defenses effectively. On the evening of the 5-year anniversary of the Memorial Garden, Clara found herself retelling the story before a crowd that had gathered. Here, she invoked the memory of the 15 children, not only of their loss but of lives reborn. As she stood before her neighbors, she said, "Let us continue to honor the lost not just in our memories but in our actions. We must remain vigilant and engaged, paving the way for changing hearts and minds wherever we go." With tears in her eyes and determination in her heart, she felt transformed by her journey, no longer simply a witness to tragedy but a champion of change. And as she scanned the horizon, she recognized a new chapter opening, ripe with potential, echoing the laughter and dreams of a community united through the trials of time. Thus, under the golden hues of the setting sun, amidst the perfume of flowers and laughter, Los Olivos thrived, a shining example that even from the direst of shadows, hope and renewal would bloom again. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting soft shadows across the Valverde Memorial Garden, Clara inhaled deeply, feeling the warmth of community wrap around her like a comforting embrace. The collective journey, marked by pain yet illuminated by resilience, stood firm against the trials of time. Children chased one another, their laughter echoing melodiously, a stark contrast to the silence that had once cloaked the hacienda. Families gathered, sharing meals, storytelling, and creating memories that would ripple through generations. Clara reflected on the transformation, recognizing that healing was not a destination but an ongoing journey. Each flower in the garden was a testament to the stories being told, a reminder that every life lost now danced in the blooms, living on in a town that had embraced its shadows and turned them into light. With a gentle breeze rustling the leaves, Clara felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. The community had forged new paths and in doing so had ensured that those lost children would forever be held close in the hearts of their neighbors. Together, they had woven not just a narrative of survival, but a legacy celebrating love, vigilance, and hope, a promise that no child would ever stand forgotten and alone in the shadows again. In the garden, as lanterns illuminated the night, Clara whispered a silent vow to continue nurturing the bonds they had formed, to cherish every laugh, and to ensure that love, stronger than fear, would always bloom in Los Olivos.